Hey, welcome back to the Bound by Art podcast. I'm Missi Blue, tattoo artist, business owner, and your guide to navigating the chaos that is the tattoo industry. If you're an artist looking to grow your business, attract the right clients, and learn how to survive this career without losing your damn mind, then you are in the right place. Every week, I'll be bringing real talk, actionable tips, and hard-earned lessons from my own journey with a side of good vibes and a little bit of sarcasm. Whether you're new to the game, feeling stuck, or you just need a kick in the ass to get that spark back again, this is the show for you. Welcome to Bound by Art. Now let's get to work. Are you unknowingly handing over control of your day or your entire life to people, problems, or situations that shouldn't have that kind of power? In today's episode, we're talking about what it really means to take back your power. I'll share how I went from spinning out over every unexpected curveball to learning how to pause, pivot, stay grounded, even when shit hits the fan. If you've ever let a rude comment, a late client, or a crappy situation derail your mood, your focus, or your confidence, this one's for you. We're diving into how to stop reacting, start responding, and reclaim your thoughts, actions, and boundaries. Let's get into it because you're the one in charge here, right? Not them. Have you ever had one of those mornings where you wake up in a great mood, ready to tackle the day, and something or someone completely trips you up and sets you on an entirely different course for the day? My parents used to say something like, "Oh, must have gotten up on the wrong side of the bed," which I always thought of that as such an oversimplification of my problems, but God damn it if I'm not here in my older and much wiser years saying, I get it now. What I've come to realize is this means that you're letting one thing go wrong in the morning and it's ruining your entire fucking day. Something didn't go according to plan or pissed you off this morning, and now you're sitting here at work at 3 p.m. being a fucking asshole to everyone because you let the fact that the Starbucks got your coffee order wrong this morning and you didn't notice until you were already at work. So then you're just a raging dickhead for the rest of the day. Without knowing it, you're choosing violence. You're making the choice that this thing is going to ruin your whole fucking day. You're allowing it to affect you and dictate everything that happens from that point on. When you let outside circumstances or people get to you, you're letting it affect your mood, your decisions, how you behave, the actions that you take. You're making a conscious decision to hand over your power, and you're choosing to give them or those situations control over your day, and in some situations, your entire life, which means you're no longer the head bitch in charge. They are. Admittedly, I used to be a very reactive person. When things didn't go according to plan, when the unexpected happened, bad luck, shitty people, you name it, it didn't take much to set me off. I would spin out and melt down and freak out or go on an endless rant about it, and it would hijack my whole day, my week, and I'm embarrassed to say that there were times where it could preoccupy my mind for a month or even months, plural. But I've come to realize that when I respond like this, I'm letting one moment in the day completely derail me. So for a perspective on this morning, the window guy is at my house. So yesterday I planned out my entire day. I actually spent my day off planning what I was going to do today. Not just today, but I record on Mondays. So every Monday I was trying to lock down my schedule and map it out like 30-minute increments, like try and figure out exactly how I'm going to start tackling my Mondays so that I can be more productive throughout my day and to try and get my time back. And I really wanted to start recording at home and try and figure out a way where I could possibly save myself a 2-hour round trip drive just to come up here and record. My dog and my kids and my husband can be really annoying and interrupt me, but I think I've set some clear boundaries now with all of that I can work it out where I can just work at home on Mondays. So I plan everything out and I'm like super excited to get started this morning, and I go up into my art room where I'm going to be recording and I hear men talking outside and I'm like, what the fuck is that? Why am I hearing people in my backyard? And I look out the window and it occurs to me, the fucking window guy is here, because for the last couple of weeks, my landlord has been replacing all of the windows in our house, which is awesome. I don't want to complain about that. We love new windows. We love not having $500 power bills, but I was not planning for that. And now it's 8:30. So normally I would be up here at the shop by 8:30 getting my day started. And I'm just like taking my time in the morning. Like I have time to spare. So I'm going to start at 8:30 so I can do this and that and like dick around, whatever, before I get my day started. And now here we are at 8:30 and I'm like, fuck, there's no way I can record here or get anything done because they're literally going to be replacing the window in my room. Like, I can't record a podcast with men moving windows and like pulling windows out of the wall and cutting, like, impossible, right? So now I start to spiral out because I'm not perfect. Like, I've mostly got this figured out, but I still do this and I have to catch myself. So I start spiraling out this morning like it's the end of the world. Like, what the fuck? I planned all of this. Everything was supposed to be perfect. It was supposed to be a great day. I was setting myself up and now everything's fucked, right? So I'm realizing as I'm like on the phone with my husband, like complaining about this and like everything's ruined, and he's like offering me solutions, which don't fucking offer me solutions when I'm irrational. Guys, don't do that to your girlfriends, your wives. Don't do that. We don't want to hear it. We just want you to listen. Okay. Perfectly capable of coming up with my own solutions. Thank you very much. No, I love him. He's always trying to help and offer solutions that I didn't ask for. But I realized in this conversation was like, nope. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to waste my time sitting here getting upset about this and ranting about this when I'm wasting precious time that I could be already out the door on my way to the shop so that I can go get started on my day. So ended the call abruptly, which I had to apologize for later, but was able to like stop and be like, okay, this isn't what I wanted, but I need to reassess and figure something else out. So yeah, I realized this is just like a tiny blip in my day, or as my friend James says, it's just a single grain of rice in my poke bowl. My favorite thing he's ever said. So I'm not letting this ruin like the whole fucking day and set me so far off course that I can't come back from it. So I'm hopping in the car and I'm going to work. I'm going up to the shop. So I had to make that decision in the moment that I either let this ruin my whole day or I can immediately take this action, come up with a new plan. And I did consider just staying and like working through it. But imagine just that for a minute. Like imagine me trying to fight through that, or like maybe going in the basement or my bedroom. It's just ridiculous. I don't know. I was like, so sometimes I can be so fucking stubborn and be like, no, this is the plan. I'm doing this and they're not going to fuck this up for me. But honestly, like this is much easier. It may have taken 2 hours out of my day, but how long would it have taken me to go down there and set up? Like that's fucking stupid. But this is the difference between old me and new me. So old me, stubborn as fuck. New me, flexible, mostly, somewhat. Old me, I had no control over my emotions or my reactions, and thankfully I've mostly grown out of this, but the tendency is still there, so I just have to catch it and stop it. And this just made me think of another thing that happened, which I wasn't planning to talk about this either, but over the past weekend, I lost my iPad. So the last time I remembered having it was in the car. I forget where we were going, but I remember having it in the car and could not for the life of me figure out where the fuck it was. And I looked all over the house for it, and I'm like, Find My iPhone app, whatever, is telling me that it's outside on the patio. And I'm like, I didn't go outside on the patio. I wouldn't have put it out there. I wasn't even out there at all. But that's the way that we come in and out of our house, is through the back patio. So I'm like, it's not out there. I'm not even going to look. And then I gave up and was like, maybe I left it in the truck. And I start to walk out there and I walk past the chair. There's my iPad in my like tote bag that I had in the truck. I vaguely remember kind of walking over there, putting it down so that I could pick something else up or whatever the case. But it was out there Saturday all night. And then Sunday morning, we went out on the bay and we were crabbing in the morning. And while we were out there, it poured down rain at my house. And my iPad sat in this tote bag in the fucking rain for however long it rained, maybe an hour or two that it rained, and it was soaked. And so I pick up this bag and it's literally like dripping with water. And I had to definitely take a breath. And we had a bunch of people over also. Everybody was over to eat crab. So I was like, okay, I'm going to not fucking fall apart in front of all these people. But also, I can't undo this. Like, there's no amount of panic or fucking meltdown that's going to change the fact that my iPad was sitting in the rain all night. So I was super proud of myself. I did not lose my shit. I didn't panic. I didn't cry. And like, I could have easily turned this into a my life and career over type tantrum, but I didn't. And I stayed calm, and I realized that I needed to quickly take action in order to save my iPad, and threw it in a bag of rice. And I'm happy to report that I did actually save my iPad, and it was not ruined. Nothing happened. The only thing that happened is now my case smells awful. Like, I don't know if it's from like the rice or what the fuck. No, because I took it out of the rice. I have no idea, but like sitting in the rain somehow made the case for my iPad smell terrible. So I'm getting a new case out of the deal, so I'm going to choose to see that as a positive thing. But in that moment, it was so important that I took this step away from the emotion of it and was able to remain calm and quickly make a decision to make the situation better, instead of sitting there and like whining and crying about how, oh my iPad's ruined and it's going to cost so much money to replace it and I lost all my drawings or whatever, old me would have done, and was able to like clearly like, okay, what can I do? What can I control? And I can at least try this. I've heard this works. I've never done it before. And I can't confirm or deny that this is actually what saved it. Maybe it was never going to be like fucked up in the first place. I have no idea, but all I know is I put it in rice and now it's fine. So do what you will with that information. But allowing outside influences and circumstances control your decisions and your emotions, it not only affects your day, but I find that there's this compounding interest on this where it can potentially change the entire trajectory of your day, your week, your month. And if you don't get it under control, in this case, my life, my career, my bank account, right? So when I say outside influences, I also mean other people's opinions and what other people say about you or to you. Not letting those things affect you and actually like absorb them and take them in as your own opinions, and letting them control how you act, how you behave. So when I first opened my shop, I opened it in an area that had a lot of other shops, honestly. I mean, it's a big town, but there was no significant shops. There's only one shop that I like really knew and respected. It was my friend's shop. And then, I made sure to tell him like, hey, I'm coming up there, I'm moving to your town. It just makes sense for me. And I'm like here to support you, whatever. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but he was the only one I was really worried about. But I knew there were a lot of other shops in town already. But I mean, it's any fucking town in USA, right? So I opened my shop up here in Hanover, and I'm hearing through the grapevine, everybody's talking shit like, can't believe she opened a shop up there. There's already 1 million shops in Hanover. That's so fucking stupid. She's never going to survive there. There's too many shops. How's she going to survive with that many shops around? And imagine if I let that bother me. Imagine if I believed them. If I believed that being in this town was going to cause my shop to fail, or that I wasn't going to be able to survive because the industry up here is so saturated. Imagine if I let their words control the decisions that I made from that point on. If the choices I made after that were in reaction to thinking that I made this huge mistake and that I wasn't going to survive, and I believed them and I start doubting myself and second guessing what I'm doing, I wouldn't have survived, is the truth of it. When I opened my shop, I opened February 2nd of 2020. March 14th, I got shut down for COVID. And I wasn't allowed to reopen until June, like the end of June. So for 3 months, I had no income. I still had to pay my brand new rent from, this place that I'm leasing, and I still had to pay all my bills. And, if I would have believed what they said and let their opinions control how I thought, do you think I would have fought for that? Do you think that I would have continued to just do whatever I could to keep my head above water? I probably would have quit, honestly. I wouldn't have made it. I wouldn't have believed in myself enough to do what I had to do to get through that. And I would have just given up. But I'm still here 5 years later because I didn't buy into that. I didn't let that affect me. And I was like, you guys don't even fucking know. And also, I'm built on spite. So tell me what I can't do, and I'm going to fucking prove it to you that I can. So joke's on you. That doesn't work on me. But, hearing that, there was a part of me that was like, oh no, what if they're right? And, a part of me was affected by it. And it made me, maybe it pushed me the opposite direction, but it did get to me a little bit. And it did let it kind of, piss me off and, motivate me to be like, fuck you. You're going to fucking see, I could do this. Doubt me, see what happens, But giving this kind of power away to somebody or something else, that happens in the circumstances in your environment, it doesn't only have an effect on your actions, but it has a deep effect on you emotionally. And in my experience, causes so much stress and anxiety. When you're constantly worried about what other people are going to think or anticipating how people might perceive you with the things that you do or the things that you say, you're constantly hyper aware of yourself. And you might end up overthinking everything that you say or replay conversations in your head. Does that sound familiar to you? Because I definitely used to do that constantly. Just constantly like, oh, I should have said this, should have said that. Or like, did I do this right? Or what are they going to think about that thing that I did or said? And you just are constantly trying to find the things that you could have done differently or how you can fix things, which will have you constantly just burning up your mental energy and causing stress and anxiety that's just unnecessary. Not to mention the emotional exhaustion, because no matter how much you try, you cannot control how other people feel or how they're going to react to you. Not only is this going to affect your ability to make the right decisions for you and your business, but it's also going to make you question your decisions and question your decision-making ability at all. And you're going to start to abandon your own values and needs because you're trying to please somebody else and you're trying to meet their expectations of you and you're trying to feed into their opinions of you. And the more that you doubt your decisions, the less likely you're going to be able to make decisions in the future. You're getting stuck into this trap of never-ending approval seeking. And as a business owner or an independent contractor or what have you, that means you'll be asking other people's opinions and asking them to decide for you before you do everything. And the more you do that, the more you do that. And the cycle just constantly repeats itself to the point where you're like, you can't make a decision without getting someone else's input. And that means that you're not being true to your own values. You're not being true to your own needs and wants and the direction that you originally had planned for yourself, for your business, because, even if it's your best friend, the things your best friend wants and thinks and believes is not going to be exactly the same as yours. So if you're constantly asking them to pre-approve all of your ideas and all of your decisions, they're in charge. Like you're literally giving them control of your business. You're giving them control of everything. This makes me nuts about people that get tattooed. And I understand like asking your spouse for like their opinion on the tattoo, but I don't show people their drawings ahead of time because they're going to show it to 20 people and they're going to get all these people's opinions. And now it's not their own opinion anymore. Now it's everybody else's opinion and they're not making the decision that they want this design or not themselves. They're letting everyone else make the decision for them. And it's no different than anything else. Like it should come from you. It should, sure. Like if you want to check in with somebody, I get it. But if you're doing that constantly, you're letting them make that decision. You're not ultimately making it. If you're letting other people's thoughts and opinions or other external influences control your actions, this can also lead to resentment, and it's going to create this constant internal conflict between you and what you truly want and what you actually do, because you're constantly silencing your own voice. And you're going to start to resent others for making you feel like you can't be yourself, when in reality, no one can make you do anything. You're making that choice. You're choosing to not be yourself. You're choosing to side with whatever they're thinking or whatever they would want. And you just end up in this cycle of inaction and overreaction. So you're either going to freeze up and not act until you get the approval or until you have the perfect plan, or you're going to end up being super reactive because you have no plan and you have no direction. Something as small as a negative comment or someone ignoring you can throw you into this downward spiral of questioning your ability and your value as a person or an artist completely. And it causes a fragile sense of self-worth and emotional instability while you desperately try to avoid the rejection, which ultimately lands you in this type of survival mode and pulls you completely out of creativity and intention and keeps you in this constant state of stress and self-doubt. And as much as we love to try and we wish we could, we cannot control other people. So we can't control external events or situations, and we can't control other people's feelings and reactions, and we can't control the past. And these are just facts. So what can you control? The oversimplified answer is ourselves. I've already talked a little bit about this, but I want to go into a little bit of a deeper dive here. It can mostly be broken down into 3 categories: our thoughts, our actions, and our boundaries. So what does controlling all of that look like? Because that sounds kind of hard, right? Especially if you're like me and you have impulse control problems, which these are all things that I really struggle with, but I know that I can control them, and I really try to be intentional about trying to, right? So let's start with our thoughts, because they're basically the root of our entire problem here, right? So controlling your thoughts sounds difficult, and I would even argue that you can't really control them, but you can control the direction that they head in, and that's what I want to show you here. So I like to stop the thought in its tracks before it goes any further, and kind of like your mom telling you, like, take your shoes off before you walk on the carpet, right? So the trick is stop, pause, and name the thought. So, for example, some shithead writes a mean comment on your post, questioning your skill level, and your reactive thought is, I'm not good enough. Here's where you want to pause, and instead of repeating that thought into existence and saying, I'm not fucking good enough, this guy thinks I suck, we're going to say, I'm having a thought that I'm not good enough. And I like to go even further with it and add in reaction to this person's comment. So instead of saying, I'm not good enough, I'm saying, I'm having a thought that I'm not good enough in reaction to this person's comment. So now we know that this is just a thought. We don't know if it's truth yet or not. That's the next step. So then you're going to ask yourself, is this actually true? And maybe shithead said your line work sucks. Is it true? If it is, okay, let's address it. Let's work on better line work. Thanks for the feedback. Sucks to hear it, but it was helpful. So if your line work does in fact suck, now you're motivated to fix it. And I'd say that that's helpful. But if the answer is no, your line work is clean as fuck and this guy's full of shit, fuck him. He's just trolling, looking for an internet fight or some kind of reaction out of you, or trying to knock you down a peg. And we don't give people like that satisfaction. In fact, I like to leave those comments out for my clients to just handle, because they usually do either way. And when you pause to ask yourself these questions, you're taking yourself out of a completely reactive state and you're putting yourself into a proactive state. So now you can move away from this comment without letting it rob you of your entire day, or more importantly, your self-worth. So now you've identified the thought. Now let's move into the reaction that we're attempting to control. So if you've done the first step, that's half the battle. If the comment is bullshit and it's not true and it's not helpful feedback, it doesn't actually apply to you, and you can just choose to move on and not care about it. If someone told you that your hair was green and your hair is most definitely not green, would you bother arguing with them? Or would you just say, what a fucking loser, he's trying to get me to react and I'm not wasting my time on that? I would hope you would just move on and not take the bait for that, but it should be the same thing with anything that anyone says about you that you know to be untrue. So if the comment is actually true, it has some truth to it, your next step is to just own it. Again, this isn't going to ruin your day, your week, your life, your year, but you're going to take it as feedback, and then you can choose the action that you want to take next. Maybe you do nothing and you're okay with them being right about you, or maybe you want to improve. Either way, you're not overreacting. You're just choosing to be proactive about the situation. So you can control your thoughts, you can control your actions, and lastly, you can control your boundaries. And I can already hear the objections. What if I tell them and they don't listen and they don't respect my boundaries or they don't care? You can't control other people. We covered that already. You can't. You can have boundaries. They don't have to listen to them. They don't have to respect them. A lot of times they won't. Okay, so what? That's not your business. That's not your problem. Your problem is you put up with it. When you allow someone to cross the boundary with you and get away with it and continuously do so with no consequence, you don't stand your ground and there's no follow through, you cannot cry that they won't listen and respect your boundaries. People treat you exactly the way that you allow them to. Getting clear on your boundaries and making them known is a promise to the ones that might cross them, and a promise to yourself that if someone does, you're not going to tolerate it. If your boundary is no politics at the dinner table and your uncle comes over for dinner and won't shut the fuck up about the state of the government these days and you don't tell him to shut up or get the fuck out, that's on you. Obviously, that's an extreme response to a first-time offender, but what I'm trying to say is if you've made it clear, no politics at dinner. Uncle Chuck doesn't respect that. Uncle Chuck doesn't get invited back, period. If it were me, I would remind him, hey, we don't talk about politics at dinner. Can we change the subject, talk about something else? And if he continues, I might escalate it. But again, we take a moment to assess the situation, be proactive and not reactive, because I'm not giving Uncle Chuck the power and he doesn't get to decide how dinner in my home is going to go. That's in my realm of control. So if he can't play by the rules, he doesn't get to come next time. But families are complicated, and I get that. And if you're new to holding people accountable when it comes to boundaries and this isn't a can of worms that you're ready to open yet, maybe start with small boundaries, like having a 15-minute cutoff for people who are late to their appointment, or your cancellation and deposit policy with that client that continues to cancel on you last minute, but you keep honoring their deposit. You can be mad all day long at these people for not respecting your boundaries, but you're letting them control you. You're letting them control the situation. You're giving them all the power by not holding them accountable, by not keeping the promise that you made to yourself. We can't control the people voicing their opinions on what we should or shouldn't do. We can't control shitty internet dude with his mean comments. We can't control what Uncle Chuck has to say or what he does, and we can't control the client that's constantly bailing on us. What we can control is who has the power in these situations. If you let these things ruin your day and change the way you think about yourself or your abilities or the way that you feel or the things that you do and how you react, they're in control, not you. And I don't know about you, but I'm not giving my power away to any of these people. All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I hope you're feeling inspired and ready to make some moves today. Remember, it's all about showing up, putting in the work, and staying true to yourself. If you got something out of today's episode, share it with a friend who might need to hear it, and make sure to subscribe so we can keep this momentum going. Get updates on all of our latest episodes, events, and more by following us on social media at Bound by Art Project and by heading over to the website boundbyart.com. Thanks for hanging out and putting up with my shit. I'll see you next time. Now shut up, quit making excuses, and go get better.